The border crisis, of course, in focus at the GOP presidential debate last night, as Customs and Border Patrol sources confirmed to Fox News that there were more than 11,000 total migrant encounters at the southern border in a 24-hour period, Tuesday to Wednesday, this week. That marks the second time this week that we've hit this unprecedented threshold of 11,000 people encountered. Those are the ones we know about. Joining me right now is the governor of Texas, Greg Abbott, along with Texas Capital's president and chief executive officer, Rob Holmes. They will be at the New York Stock Exchange today to ring the closing bell, and we're going to get to that in a moment. Gentlemen, great to see you both.
You too, Maria. Thanks.
Governor, you've done so much on this border, and I'd like to start there. Rob, you know the success and strength of Texas, and you're actually wrapping it up in a way to invest in it, so we'll talk about that. But, Governor, this week has been incredible. 11,000 people encountered. How would you assess this week at the border?
Listen, it's chaos, it's a catastrophe, and it's a byproduct of Joe Biden's open border policies. Maria, remember this. 3 years ago, we had the lowest border crossings in 40 years. It's because of 4 policies put in place by Donald Trump: remain in Mexico, Title 42, end, catch, and release, and build a border wall. Joe Biden came in and eliminated all of those policies. Last year was an all-time record of illegal crossings. This year is going to set another all-time record of illegal crossings. Americans have had it. Texas is stepping up to do everything we can by putting these razor wire border barriers to prevent people from coming in, only to have President Biden's staff cut those razor wires and illegally allow people to enter our country. Is outrageous what Biden is doing. You
are among the few, the only one doing anything in terms of stopping this chaos at the border. You've put this razor wire up. You also put buoys in the water. They're trying to change that as well. So why? Why did they cut the wire? What is the answer to this?
So Texas is the only state in American history that's actually repelled illegal immigrants. Biden does not want that to happen. Biden wants those illegal immigrants to come into the United States. We are at war on the border. The war on the border is between Texas and the United States of America.
Unbelievable. Now, you're in New York today to ring the closing bell with Rob. I want to get your take on whether or not you were able to see the impact of that border crisis here in New York. I know you're only here for a day, but we've got the Roosevelt Hotel, which is not too far from here. You've got migrants, obviously walking all over the streets, and they want jobs, but the Biden administration wants to give them jobs. Did you get a sense of any of that here in New York? Because we've heard from Eric Adams.
So listen, we know what's going on in New York. However, most of the public does not know this fact. So people are aware that Texas has bused people to New York, 15,800. Most of the migrants in New York, however, were sent here by Joe Biden. This is a problem in New York caused by Joe Biden, as well as other cities across America. It's why Joe Biden is underwater in the polls with regard to immigration. Americans, both Democrat and Republican, have had it with Joe Biden's open border policy.
Even though you've got this enormous problem in Texas at the border, Rob, you're highlighting the growth of the state of Texas. You're ringing the closing bell today at the New York Stock Exchange to celebrate the launch of Texas Capital's new exchange-traded fund and the funds management division and its flagship fund, the Texas Capital Texas Equity Index ETF. Tell me about the ETF.
The ETF comprises 222 companies in Texas. It's highly diversified. It's a microcosm of the economy of Texas, $2.4 trillion, 10% of the U.S. economy, more Fortune 500 companies, close to 100 Fortune 1000 companies. It's growing faster than the rest of the United States. It's 10% of the U.S. economy. It's highly diversified, as evidenced by the governor and I were talking about last night, the top 5 holdings: Tesla, Schwab, McKesson, Waste Management, Exxon. Think about that. How more diversified and strong can an economy be?
You know, it's interesting because you think about Texas, you don't always think about Tesla. But this has been an incredibly hot stock, and it's in the ETF. That obviously bodes well for the ETF. And your governor have led a growth story in Texas. How would you analyze the growth of Texas right now? What's most important for us to understand about the economy of Texas?
There's no economy in America that's growing as fast as the state of Texas. That's one reason why history is being made today, because Texas is the only state in the United States that has our own ETF. There are 30 countries in the world with economies smaller than Texas that have their own ETFs. Texas has the 8th largest economy in the entire world. We have more Fortune 500 company headquarters in Texas than any other state in America. We had 450,000 people move to Texas last year with these companies that are moving to the state of Texas. The economy is on fire, so much so this past year Texas had a budget surplus of $35 billion, while California had a budget deficit of $35 billion. Texas is doing great economically.
You've got to talk to the leadership in Washington on Capitol Hill about your secrets to budget surpluses. But Rob, this TXS allows investments in the Texas economy and actually allows investors to benefit from this growth story that the governor is talking about. What are you expecting? What have you heard in terms of interest in this ETF? Because we haven't seen an ETF in a state like this.
No, look, I think it'll be great. It's a very unique alternative investment, and one that will differentiate based on what we just talked about. There's so many, it's so dynamic. I mean, not only are the economic indicators fantastic, but it's the second largest workforce in the country. It's the youngest workforce in the country. There's 11 tier 1 universities. So the companies moving to Texas at record pace, they're coming there for a lot of reasons, but one is just the talent pool. And the talent is coming up through the school systems in Texas, but also moving in because they want to be a part of it.
And this ETF is just one more step in your grand master plan to create this titan in business, Texas Capital, in terms of its size and the products that you have. Are you trying to create a mini JP Morgan here?
Well, we're not trying to create a mini JP Morgan. We've talked about that. But Texas does deserve, just like its own ETF, a full-service financial services firm, and it now finally has one for the first time. Think about that. Institutional sales and trading floor, wholesale investment banking. We just led the largest sole managed debt deal in the country last week.
Wow.
Our investment bank is a year old. So it is profitable. We've done $50 billion of notional trades on the sales and trading floor. Our private wealth business is growing 37% year over year, second quarter end. P times V, or our treasury business, is 17%. That's a 2% business. So it's working.
I know that one of the allures for the state of Texas is the fact that you don't have the taxes that so many others do. You don't have income tax. I want to get your take on the sales pitch for corporations. We've seen so many companies say, you know what, I'm ditching California, I'm ditching New York, I'm going to Texas. What is the sales pitch? No
income tax, no corporate income tax. In fact, because of our budget surplus, we cut taxes by $18 billion in the state of Texas. But the key really is the regulatory environment. When we brought Elon Musk in, we promised he would be able to build a gigafactory in 18 months by waiving permits, accelerating permits. What Texas does, we partner with our business leaders, like I'm partnering with Rob today, and Texas supports our businesses and ensures they will succeed in our great state.
That's such a great point, and I'm glad you mentioned Elon Musk, because he's been talking about the border, okay? He's going to the border. He wants to see it firsthand. What is he going to see? And tell me about that in terms of communicating what's truly going on to the public through a man like Elon Musk with a huge following.
So Elon is very frustrated about the fact that the mainstream media is not covering the chaos at the border. By him going down the border, it will expose it to people across the country as well as across the entire world. He wants to put a spotlight on what's going on the border and why there must be change at the top in the United States of America.
Well, that's what I did. That's what I tried to do, going to the border 5 times. One of the first times I went to the border, I was embedded with the Border Patrol, and a little girl was coming across the river. She must have been 10 or 11. My guy, the Border Patrol, went over and started speaking Spanish to her. Where are you going? What are you doing? And as soon as he approached her, she lifted her shirt. Mm-hmm. And I remained. I said to him, what was that about? And he said, Maria, that's what she thinks she has to do when approached by authority. This is disgusting. And what's happening to these little girls, they're getting raped, attacked, and we see no response from this administration. So I was horrified.
You have little girls like that who are assaulted like that. But Maria, think about this story that happened in New York here, where a 1-year-old child died because of exposure to fentanyl. This fentanyl crisis caused by Joe Biden's open border policies, Texas law enforcement alone has seized enough fentanyl to kill every man, woman, and child in the entire United States of America. And now we have a 1-year-old child here in New York who lost his life because of this tragedy.
And my prayers to his family. And that's another reason that you have been so tough on China, by the way, because we know the underlying components come from China. Let's end on a positive note here, Rob. Are you seeing interest from institutions as well as individuals from this ETF? Because you really want to appeal to a large pool of potential investors.
Oh, for sure. But, these ETFs, they grow slowly over time, but we're growing just fine. We're outperforming. We've outperformed since inception. It's a little down, but it's down a lot less than the other indices. So we're really pleased with the performance so far.
Well, have a great day at my old stomping ground, the New York Stock Exchange.
Maria.
We'll be watching you ring the closing bell. Congratulations to you.
Thank you.
And Governor, thank you for your leadership.
Thank you, Maria.
Wonderful to see you both. Governor Greg Abbott and Rob Holmes here, and we'll be right back.